and roll. 10:01, let's rock and roll. Welcome to the Hammerdown Roadshow, where we're going to put the pedal to the metal and talk trends, tech, and tunes. My name is Jay Mervis. I'm the Healthcare Sales Director here at FortiNAC. Welcome to the 11th installment of the Hammerdown Roadshow. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Today, my guest is Vice President of Sales at Asimily, Mike McDermott. The trend we're going to talk about today is connected medical. Mike, do me a favor. Tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, company as a firm. Good morning. I know you're in California. Thanks for getting up when the crows get up.
Yeah, no, happy to get up and chat, and thanks for having me and on the show and talk about a little bit about myself and Asimily and the partnership. So excited. So thanks again, and not too early. I work East Coast hours, so we're good, my man. So my background. So I'm from rural Northern California, a farm town, essentially one high school town. And I spent my whole career in healthcare. So whether it was selling to providers, as like right out of college, like walking in on the patient floors in a hospital or knocking on doctors' offices, to the last 6-7 years I've been in tech, right? So and that entire focus, right, is when you're selling to healthcare, you're thinking about providers, you're thinking about patients first, selling life-saving equipment, and now really saving life-saving technology. Even though we're talking about cybersecurity risk, and one of the reasons I came into Asimily really is this belief that, and what we're doing is thinking about cybersecurity from a patient's point of view and how to protect the patient, how to protect that health system. And we just saw this story that came out yesterday, this hospital in the Midwest, this poor kid got a mega dose of opioids, and the health system saying it's because of a cyber attack. And that stuff's scary. And that's what gets me up in the morning, right? Bright and early when the crows come up to go talk to Jay and all our great customers and partners and prospects out there to say, hey, we got to go solve this problem, and we can. Right, with the right partnerships, the right technology, and the right processes. So it's really, I get excited about it, and definitely look forward to working with our partnership with FortiNAC.
Yeah, I mean, that's how we got connected, Mike, is through the fact that FortiNAC is a fabric-ready company. We've got over 500 ecosystem partners, and Asimily is in a group of great, solid partnerships that we've had and spent time technically integrating and building out solution sets for our customers. So it's been great to meet you. I've run across a ton of your salespeople, and Dinesh has been like the conduit for all of us, making sure that we have those marketing engagements, the technical enablement, as well as making sure we've got a joint go-to-market, because resellers, they want to go solve a problem for a customer with a multi-vendor solution, because everybody doesn't do everything perfectly. So that's why we have a great relationship with our ecosystem.
No, for sure. And I think Dinesh is awesome. And I know our team has really enjoyed working with you guys too. And when we think about integrating with our customers, right, we have that deep visibility into the network. So we show, and that's what's so great is when with our bi-directional partnership with you guys, not just showing what all the devices are, right? It's not just a Windows 7 or Windows 10 device, right? It's an infusion pump or an ultrasound or a camera, et cetera. But also helping you guys obviously segment or do other aspects on the network. So I know it's exciting to see all the tech that our teams have put together.
Yeah, right. So talking about that incident in the Midwest with that patient, connected medical is one of the hottest things. People keep asking me, Jay, why do you keep talking about this? Because it's a huge problem. We've seen legislation come out, the Patch Act, where they're going to hold some of the medical device manufacturers to a higher standard through the FDA. And then the flip side of that, which is why we have a great relationship on connected medical, is the fact that we can protect with a couple of our different products, which we'll get into the tech section. But from the trend, the connected medical is having deep visibility. Mike, what are you and the firm seeing from a real life perspective?
So, I'll say a couple things. One time, let's just kind of to the Patch Act is obviously that got pulled out of the latest funding for the actual or the latest bill. But we see what's going on in Europe. And it looks like, Europe's leading the way as far as driving some of these innovations, I guess I'd say, around cybersecurity and healthcare, and forcing manufacturers to do things which actually will come to here, because so many of these manufacturers obviously have to sell to the globe. And so they have to follow those regulations. I think the trend we're seeing, right, is not just the deep visibility, right, but you got to actually be able to solve the problem. And you actually have to say, hey, here is my threat surface. How do I reduce that threat surface in a thoughtful and efficient way? And that kind of goes back to like why, when we talk about, this is great because we have this great partnership and this great ability through our integration to actually automate that process to reduce the threat. It's not enough to know that there's a problem. Everyone knows there's a problem, right? We all know there's an issue, but it's, can you actually identify where the issue is and solve it? And I think that's what, we think about Asimily, where our big focus is, ensuring that what we solve with you guys doesn't actually affect patient care. And we've seen some of that, right? So we've seen, some vulnerability scanners or other IT tools actually knock medical devices off the network. We've seen them because they didn't know what they were. They thought it was a Windows 10. So it just said, oh, something's going on. They took it off and it was a ventilator on a patient. We've seen ultrasounds change their functionality. So that stuff's pretty scary. And so that's why giving that deep visibility is so important. And then also having that communication integration is really key.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want an ultrasound to turn into a glue commander. I mean, that's literally what could happen. So
yeah, no, we don't. No, and you don't want that ventilator beyond your loved one, right? And so this is everyone in healthcare and everyone tries to do their best, but if you don't have the visibility and you don't know what it is, right? That's where bad things happen.
Right. And with the patch act stalling, the provider, it's more important now. Provider, life sciences, pharma companies having that deep visibility and index as well as security. And that's why we're going to transition to the tech, which is how we line up. So some of our tools that we're seeing, we'll get into what the FortiNet side looks like. But Mike, from an Asimily perspective, what are you seeing from the tech? How does your tech help enhance patient care?
Yeah, so that obviously we just touched on the visibility piece of it, right? Which is really key to actually know every device on your network, IT, IoT, OT, and your medical devices if you're a health system, and also know all the things that are on that device, so operating system, serial number, etc. But then really understanding what the issue is on those devices, so where the exploitable vulnerabilities are, where your actual threats are, and then going deeper if those devices are acting anomalously, so if they're not doing the right thing. And so we have this huge database as Asimily, and then the ability to actually fix it. So with clinically approved recommendations that don't affect patient care. And that's the key. And that's where, the Asimily is a company, I go back to why I joined the company is when Shankar, our founder, said, hey, I built this business focused on making sure we have great patient care, that what we do doesn't affect patient care. And I've seen, things through my career of us vendors trying to do the right thing and things not working well and not going great, right? Vendors always make mistakes in healthcare. There are risks there. And we're so hyper-focused. The entire company has this banner we carry every day to go protect patients, like that what happened, that incident in the Midwest, right? We just referenced earlier. And making sure the product does that. And so I think that when we think about the tech and what's important for our solution, and even when you're looking at a solution, thinking about, you got to really think, does it actually give you that end result you want?
Yeah. So from where we sit, Mike, the greatest thing about our fabric and having 500 ecosystem partners is with our Fortigate and FortiNAC product, those tie into Asimily to go and enforce policy and consolidate the threat intelligence, because that's what customers in the healthcare space is. Some of what you're talking about, which I've seen in my career, and that's why I've really gravitated toward being great at supporting healthcare customers. We want to, improve patient care without changing bedpans. But at the end of the day, some of the technology that we have from an enforcement perspective with FortiNAC and FortiGate, with Asimily, with the visibility, allows those customers to be protected when Asimily, as well as some of our other visibility partners, find some crazy vulnerability that gets exploited, whether it's robotics or, the pumps the other day, a lot of those CISA bulletins correlating that data. That's really important from a technology perspective to be able to do that, because the resource constraints, there's not enough people indexed in healthcare to go and support this stuff. And the talent gap is so large. So you hit it on the head early. Automate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you think, so there's like 1,000 CVEs, I think that get published. I think it's every week, that they're saying, or it was like 20,000, a little over 20,000 last year, so maybe a little less than that, but a massive amount of CVEs. And then you have all these different medical device models. So we looked at one of our customers actually, and they had over 500 different models in their environment. And when you looked at all the combinations of like operating system, it was in the thousands.
Yeah.
They'd have infusion pumps with like three different, the same brand of infusion pump with three different operating systems because of different years they are purchased. And you think about the complexity. If you're an individual without the right tools, without, a tool like Asimily, and with what you guys bring to the table at Fortinet, it's impossible. You can't solve it as a person. You could hire 100 people. And we've actually seen health systems just try and hire people to solve the problem. And we have other health systems, and we have these great customers that, you get the right mix of tools with the right solution, they automate it, and all of a sudden you have 1 or 2 people because we've automated that whole process for them, right? We tell them where the threats are, we tell them how to fix it, and then you click a button and it's fixed. Well, and that goes back to our tooling, how we work together, and we automate that process, because there's never going to be enough people in healthcare, and there's only more devices going on the network, right? It's only getting bigger. The problem's not getting smaller.
Yeah, so I always said, somebody's like, wait, why would you guys bring in a visibility partner at FortiNet? Well, because right now the situation like you're talking about, they can't hire enough people. Somebody gets handed a post-it note when a CVE gets posted, and they're like, well, we have 22 facilities and we've got 400 clinics. Where do I go find this thing? The thesis set up, and that's the value of what we do when we partner up with the technology Asimily.
Yeah, and kind of go a little bit. And so where also Asimily brings to the table is that we look at all those devices, we prioritize them using the MITRE ATT&CK framework, and we say, hey, here's your top 2-3%. And we actually find that 2-3% is actually probably 50, 60, 70% of your risk. So when you know what that is and you prioritize it, you can actually really massively reduce your threat surface. So if something does happen, at least you're going to limit your blast radius. You're not re-imaging all these devices because they're protected. You're not spending weeks of devices offline and not charging for them and billing for them, and people don't get their CTs, so you don't find that issue with them, which is scary, which is what happens when devices are down, and that's why we got to keep them up. So yeah, no, for sure, it's automation, it's improving efficiency, it's giving people the right information and the right tools to get the work done.
That's awesome. So hey, Mike, those are great points on the trend and the tech. Anybody that's tuned in today, if you want to sit down, myself, Tom, Eric, with some of Mike's team, we're happy to sit down and talk connected medical. We've got a bunch of actual reference architecture, whether you're a provider, a life sciences company, or a medical device manufacturer. We're solving for all three of those things. And Asimily is one of our strongest partners, especially with what Mike and his team are doing. Hey, Mike, let's turn it over to the most fun part of the show. I call this corporate Christmas. You're the guest. We prepped a couple days ago, and I said, hey, Mike, what band, what artist you want to talk about? You said Tim McGraw.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Totally took me out of my swim lane.
Mm-hmm.
16 studio albums, 13 compilations, 74 singles, 12 have reached number one, 12 albums reached number one. He's an actor, 1883, married to Faith Hill, I believe, because this country's not my genre. But Mike, why did you pick Tim McGraw?
So, I think, I'm from rural Northern California, from Farmtown. Right. So that's part of it. Right. That's what I grew up listening to. And, you said, hey, we want to tie it back. And so I thought like these two things is I have this mantra of I always want to be better than I used to be. Right? And he has that great song. So I always want to say, hey, what am I doing today to get better? What am I doing today to help improve what my customers, prospects, our team does? And then the other one is like, this is my career, right? I love healthcare. I love thinking about every day, how are we going to protect patients, help the providers do what they need to do. In a thoughtful manner with the tools that I work with. And that's my career. So my next 30 years, which is another great Tim McGraw song. So we're tying it back to, where I'm from. And also like kind of, I would say some mantras of life, right? Trying to always be better. And what are you going to do with your career?
No, and that's cool. So the songs I picked was, I'm going to go way back and be a homer because I do know this song from the 90s. I like it. I love it. I like it when we solve a problem. I love it when it's done and completed and the customer's super happy. So that's one of the ways we can work.
That's
a win with Connected Medical. Shotgun rider. When we get into opportunities, one of us is the shotgun rider to solve the customer problem, regardless if we're talking about biomed, clinical engineering, core IT, executive leadership, application, whoever it might be. But one of us is riding shotgun in the opportunity. And I'll ride shotgun with Sheldon anytime. He's cool as can be. So love him. We always talk about covers. I don't think this one ties back in, but from my research, I remember hearing this when it got done. Tiny Dancer is originally an Elton John song. Tim McGraw kills it. So anything else you want to talk about on the Tim McGraw front, Mike?
I mean, that's Shell is awesome, and Tiny Dancer, Elton John, that's great. I would say, like I'm a big fan of 1883, right? It's surprising. I was shocked what a good actor he is, right? Like, who knew, right? Who knew Tim McGraw was such a good actor? That was, it was an entertaining show. So anyone who's listening, if you haven't seen it, it's worth watching.
Yeah, and I'm in the Yellowstone camp. Same thing. Like, I don't really watch a lot of TV, but I'll watch that.
Yellowstone's great too.
Watch 1883 though. Tim McGraw does kill it in that. So, it's always interesting. Mike, thanks for being on the show today. Hey, listen, anybody, the call to action, you want to sit down, whether you're a reseller, whether you're a customer, you want to just talk shop, Mike and his team, my team, Eric, Tom, myself, Troy Ament, Nate Nichols. We're all available to talk about this. If you want to reach me directly, you know where to find me. Mike at Asimily.com if you need to get hold of Mike and get engaged with his team. LinkedIn, we're on LinkedIn pretty much all the time. So DM either of us there. My next guest, I think, is going to be Justin McDonald, an old friend from CDW, runs a lot of their cyber engagement on the front line. But Mike, any other closing thoughts?
Just thanks for having me on. Thanks. Love talking about our partnership and what we're doing to help our customers. And, definitely look forward to the next 30 years together. All righty.
I don't think I'm that young though, Mike. Have a good weekend, everybody.